Good afternoon. So just to briefly let you know a little bit about the relationship between Walgreens and RSI and our merchandise suppliers. We've been in a relationship with RSI for about 8 years. We have over 300 of our suppliers collaborating with us using our data that we feed to RSI every day, and that has really generated a lot of success for us. One thing that we really value about the relationship and the collaboration with RSI and our suppliers is that the three-legged stool that we stand on to develop really value-added use cases around our key supply chain outcomes, making sure that we have product availability. That's kind of our number one priority in supply chain, improving our inventory productivity, so really managing that in-stock position at the right days of supply and turns, and really driving those efforts with our suppliers and RSI together. So they've helped us develop tools related to excess inventory, display planning, in-stock improvement, identifying phantom inventory, distribution voids, all of the things that you're all aware of that RSI can do with a retailer and supplier partnership. So I'll turn it over to Joe and he can fill you in on my POS.
Thank you, Laura. Talk a little bit about RSI and their value cycle. And so one of the things that we set out was, what do we want to do? And as Laura mentioned, there's a lot of metrics and things you can look at out there. In fact, you can quickly get into paralysis by analysis if you're not careful. So what we did was we said, let's define what it is we want to accomplish. Or in other words, let's get the business value, or the size of the prize as we call it. And then Walgreens already has a joint business process or planning process that includes the total team. So everything that we do, that Laura does at Walgreens, is a total team. It's not just supply chain at L'Oreal with Walgreens. It's our sales teams, our marketing teams. We all collaborate and we're all one team, and we develop a joint business plan. And then from there, we do a value pyramid, which will give you your action plans, and then you track your value, and then you measure to the size of the prize. So my POS just simply is an acronym for my POS. So what we did was we formed a steering committee. That's the project owners. Every step of the way, we have a JBP scorecard review. So we're tracking sales, we're tracking gross profit, subscribe store in-stocks, inventory turns, and all of the metrics that Laura alluded to. And so once we formed our committee, then we formed a project team. Those are the actual folks that are going to be in the tools day in and day out. And again, we always scorecard review, and we look for the value creation. And then we come up with an action log, and we have with actual owners and timelines to get to each of the steps of the project, which in this case is the MyPOS. So basically then the project leads, which we have one in RSI, L'Oreal, and at Walgreens. We chair the meetings, and then, of course, those are the ultimate decision makers based on what we're seeing with the tool. And to give you an idea of how intense it is with Walgreens, I have almost 2,000 SKUs in every Walgreens store. L'Oreal is not just L'Oreal. I am also Maybelline, Garnier, Soft Sheen Carson, Essie. So our consumer products division is just one division of L'Oreal. And as I said, we are approaching almost 2,000 SKUs at Walgreens. To try and begin to manually analyze 2,000 SKUs on any given day would, take a month of Sundays and then some. Our products, if you get the Walgreens flyer, which I get every Sunday, are very promotional driven, especially our cosmetic items. If you're not familiar with the beauty personal care business, new is super important. And I'm going to say that at any given time, we're launching and discontinuing somewhere at Walgreens alone, I'm going to guess around 300 to 400 SKUs every year, spring and fall. So there's a lot of challenges associated not only with keeping them in stock, but running them down and ensuring that Walgreens and L'Oreal are not inundated with returns and the processing and the time it takes away from the store associates. So the MyPOS focus areas we came down to 3 use cases that we're primarily using today. A promo forecasting use case, which will help with the amount of promotions we run. We also, because of the importance of the new products launching every year, we have what we call NPI, or new product introduction use case, and we have an in-stock rate use case. So the first one is the promo forecasting use case discussion. And just to give you an idea, and I did a little homework before I came here on L'Oreal, so there's 52 weeks in a year. L'Oreal runs ads on cosmetics 42 weeks out of 52. Just to give you an idea of how promotion driven we are. So the out of stocks at Walgreens, sometimes you can be wiped out halfway through an ad and you might not recover before that next ad hits. So the planning behind these is absolute key when you're running these kind of promotions. So what we did with the use case, and RSI basically built it all, so it's almost, and I'm just going to stress, almost a press a button and run. That's how simple it is to use the tool from RSI. But what we do is we load several events. As I alluded to, we have 42 events. Many of those are the same events. You'll see a lot of times L'Oreal Cosmetics, all buy one, get one 50% off. So we run and load those previous ads into the tool. That tool will look to see stores that the prior ads ran out of stock, or maybe midweek ran out and the on-hands went to 0. The RSI tool will look at all these different factors and it'll form a forecast of its own. Now, I'm going to stress this over and over because this is really your most important part of the use cases. You have to have a great collaboration in place. Nothing happens without collaboration. So what we've seen by running these use cases, especially on these big ads, is we've seen about a 10% increase in promoted sales on average across these events. I don't know about you, but 10% is an enormous increase for us to experience on a promotion. We ran a hair color ad in December, and it had an FSI tacked onto it, so we were able to take the coupon in the Sunday paper and take $2 off. What we saw compared to the prior event without running the use case was almost a 51% increase in incremental sales from the promotion. Another example, we had an ad in January, $2 FSI. It happened to be a shampoo conditioner ad, 2 for $4. When you run an ad like that, it's so much value that you really had to get in front of that, because stores might sell a base of 3 or 4 units and might sell 20 for that ad. That one we saw a 17% increase. Same with another ad in January. We actually were approached by the Walgreens demand planner for cosmetics. She gave us a neat idea in November. She said, I was looking last year at our holiday sales through the month of December, and I saw that basically we were out of stock on some key items. We used the use case to key on those items, and instead of running a week promo, we ran the month of December. We're able to do a push into those stores, and we increased those holiday sales in that 4 weeks of December by 21%. So there's a lot of good information out of this use case. The next use case that I briefly touched on was the new product introductions. As I said, we've introduced between 300-400 new items to Walgreens. We used to be strictly January, July. We sometimes launch off-cycle now in March and October. New item sales are important to us and very important to Walgreens. They need her to come in. They want her to shop. They want her to come to Walgreens first to get their new items. We're running major advertising, and of course we want Walgreens to win the customer as well. So what we do is we start the new item use case. Actually, if we're going to launch in January, we're going to start running that in October. And what it's going to do is it's going to look at all Walgreens DCs and stores and ensure that every store in DC has product before the planogram or the reset goes down to them in January. So this use case will start running, and the demand planners are very interested. We only run this use case around launch time, so you're not running this 52 weeks a year. But this particular use case, it opened up our eyes in a lot of ways, and Walgreens as well, in going to market, because sometimes you assume the old way was we said maybe 3 pieces per store or whatever. You'll find that is not the case, and I won't get into it in another conversation, but with Walgreens' latest clustering effort, it's really been a challenge, and I don't know how we would survive without having a use case like this to monitor all these items. But again, what we saw was about a 2% increase in the subscribe store in-stock rate. 2% might not sound like a lot, But when you're running an in-stock of 96 and going to 98, 2% is huge. And we did try to take an estimate because we only have 2 launch periods here. We saw an increase in sales of give or take 1% on those items. And again, I'm going to stick my neck out and say I think we probably will see 5 to 8%. That'll be anniversary to a year. And we had to put in a substitution rate. They will substitute when it comes to things like a mascara or items that are more generic and not so unique to the person like a foundation is unique to the tone of the skin. So the new product use case has been a huge win for both us and Walgreens. Just to give you some results, we've reduced lost sales by 66%, and we compared this by actually trying to compare some July to some January launches, and as I said, we increased the in-stocks 2%. Another big thing for us, and probably for many of you in the manufacturing community, is when we launch a line of products, sometimes we have 1 or 2 that just take off like crazy. And if you don't know that as a company, you may end up having to cut Walgreens orders for a month or 2 because you can't keep up with the demand. And I'm going to show you in a minute here how this tool will help you spot that very, very early on in the process. We had 2 weeks into the launch. This tells you your cumulative stores scanning, which is another red flag for you. If you have Walgreens stores, especially in their top clusters, and they're not scanning, chances are there's an inventory issue, and you want to know that. So we see that the stores are scanning and they're getting up, and you can see they approached the 8,000, 9,000 store mark a few weeks after launch. What's more interesting in the bottom right corner are the items and their individual rates of sales. And you can see 2 of those bars are standing significantly above the other ones, especially the 1 bar. That happens to be a hair color shade of ours called Feria Violet Vixen. And violet would imply that it's a purple or violet tinted hair color, which it is. So nobody, including me, thought that this item would be a runaway item. With 2 weeks of POS, we were able to see that this item was taking off like a rocket. And as a result, we can key our demand planning groups in on it, our manufacturing MSL groups, and we can get in front of it rather than have to make excuse to the retailer for 2 months why we're cutting their item. So another big benefit of this is to get an early read on those hot launches. The last use case that we use, and this one is used 52 weeks a year, is the in-stock use case. Very important that RSI is able to give you in-stock rate, and they can give you SSIS, or subscribe store in-stock rate. You want the subscribe store in stock. That means it's only going to report to you on the stores that are planogrammed to carry the product. So I don't want to taint the data by showing the in-stocks in a store that's not supposed to carry it because they probably have 0 and they're going to pull the whole in-stock measure down. We tend to work only in subscribe store in-stocks. We look at the top 20 items by op study every week on every call. And we look at it 3 different ways. We look at it Walgreens top cluster. We look at the Duane Reade stores because Walgreens purchased the Duane Reade chain a few years back in a very high volume stores. And then we look at the rest of the chain. And if we see an issue of any of those 3 clusters, then we drill down. We may have one of my people doing certain things, the demand planner looking at other things. So what we saw as a result of monitoring these top items, we saw again about a 2% increase in the subscribe store rates. And for us, that's a tremendous increase.
Thanks, Joe. So just wanted to step through a few things that helped us achieve the great results that Joe shared. So obviously he mentioned multiple times, collaboration is really the priority. RSI gives us the ability to do it in a data-driven way, but there needs to be that collaborative relationship between the retailer and the supplier in order to make this successful. And then we have the great benefit of RSI giving us all of these templates and use cases to make that collaboration data-driven. We always work in concert, whether it's RSI coming to Walgreens to say, hey, what are your key priorities? What can we help you with in terms of your supply chain strategy? Or RSI going to our suppliers or or the suppliers working with us. One way or another, we all work together and listen well and develop these great use cases. I'll give Joe a pat on the back. One of our key priorities in collaboration is getting dedicated resources, particularly on site at Walgreens, is best. We're lucky to have a CPFR team with L'Oreal that's not only more than one person, but actually one person that sits right there in our office. And that is really one of the keys to our success, that they're right there side by side with our team. And ultimately, it's the joint business planning process, the supplier joining us to develop a plan for each fiscal year and make sure that we're aligned on the important initiatives to drive our key metrics, having the data that RSI crunches through and provides for our suppliers to use and for us to use to get these winning results. And like Joe mentioned, this is 3 of our use cases. We have many other use cases that we've worked on with RSI to really bring success with L'Oreal and with other suppliers. So with that, thanks for listening today and giving us an opportunity to share our experience and our collaboration and success with you. And if you do have other questions, you're certainly welcome to reach out as it relates to this initiative and how we work with RSI or our suppliers. So thank you.